Hi everyone, welcome to Nareen's Life with MS. This is Nareen over here, and we are at Soulful Saturday. Now, this Soulful Saturday, I did want to talk about uh, really a little thing that um, does happen from time to time, which is you know uh, and it becomes a question that I think a lot of us tend to, skirt from a lot of times, and that is, are you content with your life? Right? A lot of times, um, in chasing, let's say, in chasing a lot of things from success in our career and our lives, to pretty much having it all right, the perfect marriage, the perfect life, the perfect family, all of that. A lot of times we tend to not actually ask ourselves if we are content with everything that we already have. Right? It's not about what we want. Eventually it is what we currently have. And of course, being a person that has a disability, usually that question becomes a little more difficult for me to answer. I hope that other people who do have certain disabilities or do have certain issues in their life, be it medical, be it personal, be it professional, um, also do find that there is a certain something that is giving them pause. And I just wanted to talk about, despite all of the issues you have, do you still find that there is the chance that you can actually say that you are content with your life? Because for me, I would say that I am, despite, you know, the issues that I face on a day-to-day basis, I would definitely say that I'm very content with my life. I think, um, it is one of those things where, uh, you know, the first thing is, you generally do not tend to miss something until you've lost it, right? And that became very clear to me when, I was um, in the gym today, and, I was pretty much doing what you can almost call uh, a baby level obstacle course. And in it, there was something on the ground. I think, there was just something, an obstacle on the ground, and my trainer just told me, okay, jump over this. And I just looked at him, and I was just, trying to understand what he said, because I don't think I have it jumped in, I want to say, close to 6 years, maybe 7. It was definitely in the previous decade, is more or less what I'm trying to get at. But, when I think about the fact that I've kind of maybe lost the ability, or I might need to try a little bit harder, I also try to actually look at certain things that I would want to do or I would like to do, but I cannot do because I don't think I have the ability to do it right now. And suddenly when I think about what are the different things that I want to do but I cannot do, the list starts off very small, right? It started off very easily jumping, but then it suddenly grows out to be a very, very long list. And despite all of that, despite all of those different things that, do not go about your way, a lot of times you have to ask, um, whether you are content with your life, right? I mean, whatever you have made of yourself, are you good with some of the decisions you made? I mean, a lot of times, I definitely do realize that I am probably the worst person to make decisions, especially when it is about myself. And now I've come to a point where I do not make decisions whatsoever about anything that goes on, right? If someone asks me what I want what I want to order, for example, I usually turn it back over to them and I ask them if there is something that they want to eat. um, and that, I'd say, is also a part of my personality, but it also comes in from a point where, you know I think that a lot of times I do end up making, certain choices, certain decisions that might not be, the best ones. But, usually whenever I do that, that question always pops into my head, whether I'm content with my life or not. And, considering that, I have led a very privileged lifestyle, that I've been born with so many different things um, that I am still able to function despite having, a disability, and a disability that, could very easily um, have put me somewhere completely different. Um, and that also going both ways, where, you know, um, where, my disability um, would have just motivated me to become an even bigger person, or someone that would have probably sunk into, a very deep depression. So essentially, what I try to always evaluate, um, honestly, on a daily basis, is whether or not I am content with my life. And I do want to say that, despite all of everything, all the issues, I am very content with my life. I'm so lucky and grateful to, have whatever that I have. I am grateful and content with whatever I have been able to do. But I do understand that, there is a lot more to do in the future. There is a lot more to gain in the future. So here is my question for you, whether it's not about whether you are content with your life or not. I think that in itself is a very personal question, and a lot of times we don't even want to answer that to ourselves, let alone another person. So rather than ask you that, I want to ask you if there are instances, and how frequent these instances are, of you asking yourself whether you are content or not with your life, with what you've been handed, with, the people around you, with your community, with your society, with your family, with your, everything else that is going on with your life. Because a lot of times, sometimes we end up asking those questions a little too late, and by the time, because we are just trying to get to the next level, right? We're just trying to um, push ourselves to, what the next goal can be. And a lot of times we really don't stop and ask ourselves these kind of questions. So that is one thing that I did want to leave with you, and I hope, you do think about, asking yourself that question, or you maybe even can think of an answer for that question. But more so than that, I think one thing you can definitely do is answer me on how many times you actually ask yourself that question, on a daily basis, monthly basis, weekly basis, once in your lifetime, even, just so, um, you know, just so we can actually have that conversation about, what, not only why you might ask yourself that question an inordinate amount of times, or maybe you don't ask yourself that question because you already know what your goals are, right? So do put in your insights, do put in your inputs and your experiences, and of course, your views, so that we can get the conversation started. And I hope your weekend is going very well. I hope your Saturday went well. And with that said, I mean, get ready, because tomorrow is Sunday. So, you have the time to, get ready for the next week. Or if you are on holiday, as, you know a good chunk of the world is next week. You're all gearing up for the holidays. So with that said, thank you so much for listening in. This is Narain's Life with MS. I am Narain, and here's wishing you a good night and bye.